Taiwan and the Fight for Democracy. A Force for Good in the Changing International Order by Tsai Ing-wen November/December 2021.
台湾力争民主之路，国际秩序变迁中的一股良善力量。蔡英文，2021年11月12日。
The story of Taiwan is one of resilience, of a country upholding democratic, progressive values while facing a constant challenge to its existence. Our success is a testament to what a determined practitioner of democracy, characterized by good governance and transparency, can achieve.
台湾的故事是一部坚韧不屈的奋斗史，即使生存不断面临挑战，仍矢志维护民主进步价值。我们的成功是坚定实践以良善治理和透明度为内涵的民主而获得的成果。
Yet the story of Taiwan is not only about the maintenance of our own democratic way of life. It is also about the strength and sense of responsibility Taiwan brings to efforts to safeguard the stability of the region and the world. Through hard work and courage, the 23.5 million people of Taiwan have succeeded in making a place for themselves in the international community.
台湾的故事不只述说我们维护民主的生活方式，也表达我们勇于承担维护区域与世界稳定的责任。2350万台湾人民的努力和勇气，使得我们成功地在国际社会中占有一席之地。
Emerging from the COVID-19 pandemic, authoritarian regimes are more convinced than ever that their model of governance is better adapted than democracy to the requirements of the 21st century. This has fueled a contest of ideologies, and Taiwan lies at the intersection of contending systems. Vibrantly democratic and Western, yet influenced by a Chinese civilization, and shaped by Asian traditions, Taiwan, by virtue of both its very existence and its continued prosperity, represents at once an affront to the narrative and an impediment to the regional ambitions of the Chinese Communist Party.
在经历疫情之后，现在威权体制更深信他们的治理模式比起民主制度更符合21世纪的需求，这也引发意识形态的角力，而台湾就处在这体制角力的要冲。有蓬勃民主和受西方影响的台湾，同时也受到中华文明的影响及亚洲传统的形塑，其屹立不摇和持续繁荣，抵触了中共的论调，也阻碍了中共称霸区域的野心。
Taiwan's refusal to give up, its persistent embrace of democracy, and its commitment to act as a responsible stakeholder, even when its exclusion from international institutions has made that difficult, are now spurring the rest of the world to reassess its value as a liberal democracy on the front lines of a new clash of ideologies. As countries increasingly recognize the threat that the Chinese Communist Party poses, they should understand the value of working with Taiwan. And they should remember that if Taiwan were to fall, the consequences would be catastrophic for regional peace and the democratic alliance system. It would signal that in today's global contest of values, authoritarianism has the upper hand over democracy.
台湾的永不放弃以及对民主的坚持，虽然被排除在国际组织之外，仍跨越阻碍，使制作负责任的利害关系者。我们的努力终于激发其他国家重新评估这个处于新的意识形态冲突前线的台湾所拥有的自由民主国家价值。随着各国逐渐认清中共构成的威胁，也应了解与台湾合作的价值，并谨记，若台湾沦陷，将是区域和平及民主联盟体系的灾难，也意味着，在当今全球价值竞赛中，威权主义较民主主义占上风。
Indo-Pacific Futures.
印太区域的未来。
The course of the Indo-Pacific, the world's fastest-growing region, will in many ways shape the course of the 21st century. Its emergence offers myriad opportunities in everything from trade and manufacturing to research and education, but also brings new tensions and systemic contradictions that, if not handled wisely, could have devastating effects on international security and the global economy. Chief among the drivers of these tensions is the rise of more assertive and self-assured authoritarianism, which is challenging the liberal democratic order that has defined international relations since the end of World War II.
印太是全球成长最快的区域，与21世纪的进程发展息息相关。印太区域的兴起，在贸易、制造、研究和教育等个领域提供许多机会，但也伴随新的紧张情势和体制的矛盾。如果处理不当，可能对国际安全和全球经济造成重大影响。更强势、自满的威权主义兴起，引发这些紧张局势，并挑战自2次大战结束以来自由民主秩序所界定的国际关系。
Beijing has never abandoned its ambitions toward Taiwan. But after years of double-digit investment in the Chinese military and expansionist behavior across the Taiwan Strait and in surrounding maritime areas, Beijing is replacing its commitment to a peaceful resolution with an increasingly aggressive posture. Since 2020, People's Liberation Army aircraft and vessels have markedly increased their activity in the Taiwan Strait, with almost daily intrusions into Taiwan's southern air defense identification zone, as well as occasional crossings of the tacit median line between the island and the Chinese mainland, which runs along the middle of the strait, from the northeast near Japan's outlying islands to the southwest near Hong Kong.
北京当局从未放弃对台的野心，中国军事支出持续2位数的成长，在台海及周边海域军事扩张。北京当局这样日渐强势的姿态，以取代其对和平解决争端的承诺。2020年以来，中国人民解放军的基舰在台海的活动明显增多，几乎天天侵入台湾南部的防空识别区，偶尔还会越过台海中线，贯穿台湾海峡中部，从日本周边岛屿的东北方向向西南延伸到香港。
Taiwan is on the front lines of the global contest between liberal democracy and authoritarianism.
台湾处于自由民主和威权主义之间全球较量的前线。
Despite these worrying developments, the people of Taiwan have made clear to the entire world that democracy is non-negotiable. Amid almost daily intrusions by the People's Liberation Army, our position on cross-strait relations remains constant. Taiwan will not bend to pressure, but nor will it turn adventurist, even when it accumulates support from the international community. In other words, the maintenance of regional security will remain a significant part of Taiwan's overall government policy. Yet we will also continue to express our openness to dialogue with Beijing, as the current administration has repeatedly done since 2016, as long as this dialogue proceeds in a spirit of equality and without political preconditions. And we are investing significant resources to deepen our understanding of the administration in Beijing, which will reduce the risks of misinterpretation and misjudgment and facilitate more precise decision-making on our cross-strait policies. We look to maintain a clear-eyed understanding of the external environment, both threats and opportunities, in order to ensure that Taiwan is prepared to meet its challenges.
尽管情势令人担忧，台湾人民依然向全世界宣告，民主不容妥协。在中国人民解放军几乎天天侵扰的情况下，台湾在两岸关系上的立场始终如一，遇到压迫不屈服，得到国际支持也不冒进。也就是说，维护区域安全仍将是台湾整体政策的要务。就如2016年以来我们政府所一再重申，只要在对等、不设政治前提的原则下，我们将持续以开放态度与北京当局展开对话。同时，台湾也投入必要资源，强化对北京当局的了解，以减少误解和误判的可能性，并有助于做出更精确的两岸决策。我们期待能清楚了解外在环境的威胁及机会，以迎接挑战。
At the same time, Taiwan is fully committed to working with other regional actors to ensure stability. In March, for example, Taiwan and the United States signed a memorandum of understanding on the establishment of a Coast Guard working group. This working group will improve communication and information sharing between the U.S. and Taiwanese Coast Guards, while also facilitating greater collaboration on shared objectives, such as preserving maritime resources and reducing illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. Such an understanding should serve as a springboard for greater collaboration on non-military matters with other partners in the Indo-Pacific.
同时，台湾也致力与区域间的行为者合作，确保区域稳定。今年3月，台湾与美国签署设立海巡工作小组了解备忘录。此工作小组将促进美国海岸巡防队及台湾海巡署双方沟通并分享资讯，也将针对共同目标深化合作，例如保护海洋资源、打击非法、未报告及不受规范渔业活动等。我们希望以此模式扩展与其他印太区域伙伴的非军事合作。
Taiwan has also launched a series of initiatives to modernize and reorganize its military in order to be better prepared for both present and future challenges. In addition to investments in traditional platforms such as combat aircraft, Taiwan has made hefty investments in asymmetric capabilities, including mobile land-based anti-ship cruise missiles. We will launch the All-Out Defense Mobilization Agency in 2022, a military reform intended to ensure that a well-trained and well-equipped military reserve force stands as a more reliable backup for the regular military forces. Such initiatives are meant to maximize Taiwan's self-reliance and preparedness, and to signal that we are willing to bear our share of the burden, and don't take our security partners' support for granted.
台湾已进行一系列军队现代化和组织改造，以妥善因应现在和未来的挑战。除了战斗机等传统战力，台湾也大量投资在不对称战力，包括移动式陆基反舰飞弹，并将于2022年成立国防部全民防卫动员署。此项军事改革将确保训练有素、装备精良的后备战力能成为正规军队可靠的后援。这些行动都是为了提升台湾的自主准备度，展现台湾愿意承担责任的态度。我们不会将安全伙伴的协助视为理所当然。
Taiwan's efforts to contribute to regional security do not end there. We are fully committed to collaborating with our neighbors to prevent armed conflict in the East China and South China Seas, as well as in the Taiwan Strait. Taiwan lies along the first island chain, which runs from northern Japan to Borneo. Should this line be broken by force, the consequences would disrupt international trade and destabilize the entire Western Pacific. In other words, a failure to defend Taiwan would not only be catastrophic for the Taiwanese, it would overturn a security architecture that has allowed for peace and extraordinary economic development in the region for 7 decades.
台湾对区域安全的贡献不止如此，我们也致力与周边国家合作，防止东海、南海及台湾海峡爆发军事冲突。台湾位处由日本北方至婆罗洲的第一岛链，这条海上防线一旦遭武力破坏，将冲击国际贸易，破坏整个西太平洋的稳定。台湾失守将不只是台湾人民的浩劫，也将瓦解70多年来得以维持和平、卓越经济发展的安全架构。
Taiwan does not seek military confrontation. It hopes for peaceful, stable, predictable, and mutually beneficial coexistence with its neighbors. But if its democracy and way of life are threatened, Taiwan will do whatever it takes to defend itself.
台湾不求军事对抗，希望与周边国家在和平、稳定、可预测且互惠的原则下共存。但是，如果我们的民主和生活方式遭受威胁，台湾必将竭尽全力捍卫自己。
The Taiwan Model.
台湾模式
Taiwan's history is filled with both hardship and accomplishments, and the authors of this history are the people of Taiwan. Over the past few decades, we have overcome adversity and international isolation to achieve one of modern political history's most successful democratic transitions. The key ingredients of this achievement have been patience, resourcefulness, pragmatism, and a stubborn refusal to give up. Understanding both the delicate balance of power in the region and the need for support, the Taiwanese know that practical collaboration is often better than being loud or adventurous, and that a willingness to lend a hand is better than trying to provoke or impose a system on others.
台湾的历史是在充满艰辛中缔造成就，而创造这段历史的人是台湾人民。过去数十年来，我们克服逆境与国际孤立，成为现代政治史上民主转型最成功的范例之一。关键就在于台湾人民富有耐心、机智与务实，且永不放弃。我们领会微妙的区域权力平衡，也知道需要寻求支持，明白务实合作胜过高调冒险，以及愿意伸出援手胜过企图挑衅或将制度强加于他人。
While the people of Taiwan have not always achieved consensus, over time, a collective identity has emerged. Through our interactions with the rest of the world, we have absorbed values that we have made our own, merging them with local traditions to create a liberal, progressive order and a new sense of what it means to be Taiwanese.
台湾人民并非在所有事情上都能达成共识，但随着时间推移，逐渐形成集体认同。台湾人透过与世界各地的交流，内化各种价值，融合本地传统，创造自由进步秩序，并形成台湾人的特质。
At the heart of this identity is our embrace of democracy, reflecting a choice that the Taiwanese made and fought for after decades of authoritarian rule. Once the Taiwanese had made that choice, there was no looking back. Imperfect though it may be, democracy has become a non-negotiable part of who we are. This determination gives Taiwan the resilience to meet the challenges of the 21st century and provides a firewall against forces, both internal and external, seeking to undermine its hard-won democratic institutions.
这份认同的关键就是台湾人民在历经数十年的威权统治后，努力争取民主，并选择拥抱民主。台湾的民主不走回头路。民主或许不完美，但已成为台湾人民认同中不容妥协的一部分。这份坚定让台湾挺过21世纪的挑战，也筑成一道防火墙，防止内外势力试图破坏台湾得来不易的民主体制。
Beijing has never abandoned its ambitions toward Taiwan.
北京从未放弃对台湾的野心。
A fundamental part of this embrace of democracy is a firm belief that the future of Taiwan is to be decided by the Taiwanese through democratic means. Although Taiwanese in some ways differ in their sense of what exactly this future should look like, we are united in our commitment to democracy and the values and institutions that allow us to fight back against external efforts to erode our identity and alter the way of life we cherish. The great majority of us regard democracy as the best form of government for Taiwan and are willing to do what is necessary to defend it. Those beliefs are tested every day, but there is no doubt that the people would rise up should the very existence of Taiwan be under threat.
台湾人民选择拥抱民主，其中主要的因素是坚信台湾的未来由台湾人民透过民主的方式共同决定。尽管人民对于台湾的未来想法不一，但是我们团结一致，坚守民主价值和制度，共同对抗想要破坏我们的认同、改变我们珍爱生活方式的外部势力。大多数的台湾人民认为民主是最佳的治理形式，都愿意竭尽所能捍卫民主。对我们理念的挑战接踵而来，但无疑的是，一旦台湾的生存受到威胁，台湾人民就会奋起守护。
Civil society has always played a major role in Taiwan. During the period of authoritarian rule under the Kuomintang, the Dangwai movement pushed to lift martial law and democratize Taiwan. Even after being instrumental in ending martial law, it continued to offer an active and effective check on government power. Today, the extent of Taiwanese civil society's role in governance is unmatched anywhere in the region, a reflection of the trust between elected officials and citizens, who as a result are able to influence policy both through and between elections.
公民社会一直在台湾扮演着重要的角色。国民党威权统治时期，党外运动推动解严，促进台湾民主化，甚至在成功解严之后，继续积极有效地制衡政府力量。今日，台湾公民社会在国家治理所发挥的功能，在区域内是无与伦比的。这也展现出民选官员与能透过选举影响政策的选民之间的信任。
Taiwan's civil society has also proved integral to the island's international standing. Taiwan's exclusion from the United Nations and most other international institutions could have led to isolation, but Taiwan instead tapped into the tremendous creativity and capacity of its people, allowing us to establish global connections by other means, through small businesses, non-governmental organizations, and various semi-official groupings. Rather than being an impediment, the refusal of many countries to officially recognize Taiwan compelled us to think asymmetrically, combating efforts to negate Taiwan's existence by deepening our engagement with the world through non-traditional channels.
我们的公民社会也是提升台湾国际地位不可或缺的力量。尽管台湾被联合国及多数国际组织拒于门外，可能导致孤立，但这反而激发台湾人民源源不绝的创造力和能量，借由中小企业、非政府组织到各种半官方团体等方式与外界连结。台湾没有因为或多数国家正式承认而受挫，反而以创新思维，借由非传统的管道深化与世界的互动，来抗衡那些否定台湾存在的势力。
In short, despite decades of isolation, the people of Taiwan have succeeded in making a place for themselves within the international community, and transforming Taiwan itself into an economic powerhouse, and one of the most vibrant democracies in the Indo-Pacific.
简言之，尽管数十年来被孤立，但台湾人民已经成功地在国际社会中占有一席之地，让我们蜕变为印太区域的经济强国，也是发展最蓬勃的民主国家之一。
Changing the rules.
改变法则。
Taiwan's ability to survive and even thrive as a liberal democracy despite the extraordinary challenges to its existence has important implications for the prevailing rules of international relations. Our bid to play a more meaningful role in the international community is evolving in the context of changing regional politics, with more assertive challenges to the liberal international order, backed by the economic and political power to turn those ambitions into action. With increasing awareness of the potential impact of such authoritarian ambitions, more and more countries have been willing to re-examine their long-standing assumptions about, and self-imposed limitations on, engagement with Taiwan.
尽管生存面临艰巨挑战，台湾仍屹立不摇，并蓬勃发展成自由的民主体制。这对于国际关系的通行法则具有重要的意义。台湾努力在国际社会中扮演更有意义的角色之际，区域政治环境也不断变化，更独断的行为野心勃勃，要挑战自由世界秩序，而其经济和政治实力已能将其野心付诸行动。随着国际社会意识到威权体制的野心可能造成的冲击，越来越多国家愿意重新检视长期以来与自由民主台湾交流的预设立场及自我设限。
Through its evolution as an economic powerhouse and a participatory democracy, Taiwan seeks to be, and in many ways already is, part of the solution to emerging challenges with ramifications on a planetary scale, from climate change and new diseases, to proliferation and terrorism, to human trafficking and threats to supply chains. The COVID-19 pandemic has shown that the world is now so interconnected that the outbreak of a disease in one corner of the planet can, within a matter of months, reach pandemic proportions. In many cases, the speed with which new emergencies arise and spread is beyond the ability of states and existing international institutions to respond. To prepare for future emergencies, the international community must move toward inclusiveness rather than rigidly adhering to current structures.
台湾透过经济实力参与式民主，努力甚至已在许多方面为影响全球的挑战提供解方。这些挑战包括气候变迁、新兴疾病、武器扩散、恐怖主义、人口贩运和对供应链的威胁等等。从这次 COVID-19 疫情可以看到，世界是紧密相连的，地球上某个角落的疾病，在短短数月间就能引发全球大流行。很多时候，这种紧急事件的发生和扩散的速度，国家及现有国际组织力有未逮。为了因应未来的紧急事件，国际社会就应该更加包容，而不要拘泥于现行的架构。
Even as it experienced a flare-up in COVID-19 cases last spring, Taiwan has demonstrated to the world that democratic systems can respond effectively to a pandemic, harnessing the powers of artificial intelligence, big data, and surveillance networks while ensuring that the information gathered is used responsibly. The pandemic has also given Taiwan an opportunity to share its experience with the world and to provide much-needed medical assistance to struggling countries. This is so despite its long exclusion from global institutions such as the World Health Organization, which has left Taiwan little choice but to develop its own methods of cooperating and communicating with international partners. Being left out of the United Nations and other multilateral institutions has encouraged resilience and spurred novel approaches to dealing with challenges and crises of all kinds.
虽然 COVID-19 疫情在2021年春升温，台湾仍向世界证明，民主制度可以有效因应疫情，除善用人工智慧、大数据和网络监测外，也会妥善使用收集到的资讯。此次疫情也让台湾有机会和世界分享经验，提供急需的医疗援助。长期被排拒在世界卫生组织等国际组织之外，台湾必须自行设法与国际伙伴合作沟通。虽然被联合国及多边国际组织排拒在外，却强化了我们的韧性，激发我们以创新思维因应挑战，处理各种危机。
Despite being kept out in the cold, Taiwan has strived to adhere to international protocols, such as the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, amending its domestic laws and seeking its own formulas for meeting increasingly complex challenges. Taiwan is also working proactively with its partners on the development of its region. In 2016, we launched the new Southbound Policy, which facilitates regional prosperity through trade and investment partnerships, educational and people-to-people exchanges, and technological and medical cooperation with countries in South and Southeast Asia, as well as Australia and New Zealand. Taiwan is also making investments in these partners through its business community, simultaneously fostering secure supply chains and regional development.
虽然长期被冷落，台湾仍努力遵守国际规范，例如联合国气候变化纲要公约，配合修改国内法规，自行制定方案以因应日趋复杂的挑战。台湾也积极与伙伴们努力合作，共同促进区域发展。2016年，台湾推动新南向政策，透过与南亚、东南亚及澳洲、纽西兰等国家的经贸、投资伙伴关系，以及教育、民间、科技、医疗等交流合作，促进区域繁荣，并且透过企业界在这些伙伴国家进行投资，同时确保供应链的安全及推动区域发展。
If Taiwan were to fall, the consequences would be catastrophic for regional peace and the democratic alliance system.
如果台湾沦陷，对区域和平和民主联盟体系来说，后果将是灾难性的。
Indeed, with its high-tech leadership and educated and globalized workforce, Taiwan is well positioned to help create secure global supply chains in sectors such as semiconductors, biotechnology, and renewable energy, all areas where international cooperation is needed now more than ever. Our semiconductor industry is especially significant, a silicon shield that allows Taiwan to protect itself and others from aggressive attempts by authoritarian regimes to disrupt global supply chains. We are working to further strengthen our role in securing global supply chains with a new regional high-end production hub initiative, which will solidify our position in the global supply chain. Besides making computer chips, Taiwan is active in high-precision manufacturing, artificial intelligence, 5G applications, renewable energy, biotechnology, and more, helping create more diverse and global supply chains that can withstand disruption, human or otherwise.
台湾在高科技产业的领导角色，以及高素质且全球化的劳动力，能在半导体、生技和再生能源等产业协助建立安全的全球供应链。这些产业比以往任何时候更急需国际合作。我们的半导体产业尤其重要，这面细盾让台湾得以保护大家，免于遭受威权政体激进破坏全球供应链的意图。我们致力推动台湾成为新的区域高阶制造中心，进一步强化我们在维护全球供应链安全的角色，并巩固台湾在全球供应链的地位。除了生产电脑晶片外，台湾也在高精密制造、人工智能、5G 应用、再生能源、生技等诸多领域蓬勃发展，有助建立更多元、更全面的供应链，可抗拒人为或其他方式的干扰。
Taiwan derives additional soft power from expertise and capabilities in a variety of other fields, including education, public health, medicine, and natural disaster prevention. And these are fields in which our experts and institutions are taking on a growing regional role. Our universities, for example, are prepared to work with other universities in the region to develop Chinese language training. Our medical facilities are sharing expertise in medical technology and management with partners around Asia. And we are ready to work with major countries to provide infrastructure investment in developing countries, leveraging efficiency while promoting good governance, transparency, and environmental protection. Similar efforts are being made through an agreement with the United States to enhance cooperation on infrastructure financing, investment, and market development in Latin America and Southeast Asia. In short, Taiwan can be a crucial force in the peaceful development and prosperity of our region and the world.
台湾从教育、公共卫生和天然灾害防治等个领域的专业能力中获致额外的软实力，而这些领域的专家和机构也在区域中发挥越来越大的影响力。举例来说，台湾的大学已准备好和区域内的其他大学合作发展华语语言训练。我们的医疗机构与亚洲合作伙伴分享他们在医疗技术和管理方面的专业。台湾也准备好与主要国家投资发展中国家的基础设施，提高效率，并鼓励良善治理、透明和环保。另外，也和美国达成协议，强化在拉丁美洲及东南亚国家基础设施融资、投资和市场开发的合作。简言之，台湾可以成为区域及世界和平繁荣发展的关键力量。
Democratic values.
民主价值。
Sitting on the front lines of the global contest between the liberal democratic order and the authoritarian alternative, Taiwan also has an important part to play in strengthening global democracy. In 2003, we established the region's first non-governmental organization devoted to democracy assistance and advocacy, the Taiwan Foundation for Democracy. Following the models set by the United States National Endowment for Democracy and the United Kingdom's Westminster Foundation for Democracy, the TFD provides funding for other non-governmental organizations, international and domestic, that advocate democratic development and human rights. It also works to promote public participation in governance through mechanisms such as participatory budgeting, and to encourage youth engagement through initiatives such as the annual Asia Young Leaders for Democracy program. In 2019, the TFD organized its inaugural Regional Forum on Religious Freedom, and my government appointed its first ambassador at large for religious freedom.
位处自由民主秩序与威权角力的最前线，台湾也在强化全球民主方面扮演重要角色。2003年，台湾成立区域内第一个致力推动民主倡议的非政府组织——台湾民主基金会，仿效美国国家民主基金会和英国西敏寺民主基金会，资助推动民主发展和人权的海内外非政府组织，并透过办理参与式预算鼓励民众参与治理，及年度亚洲民主青年领袖应鼓励青年参与推动民主。2019年，台湾民主基金会举办首届区域宗教自由论坛，台湾也指派首任宗教自由无任所大使。
Taiwan's strong record on democracy, gender equality, and press and religious freedom has also made it a home for a growing number of global non-governmental organizations, which have faced an increasingly difficult environment in Asia. Organizations including Reporters Without Borders, the National Democratic Institute, the International Republican Institute, the European Values Center for Security Policy, and the Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom have set up regional offices in Taiwan. From Taiwan, they are able to continue their important work in the region without the constant threats of surveillance, harassment, and interruptions by authorities. We have also made ourselves hospitable to international institutions interested in establishing a presence in the Indo-Pacific, helping turn Taiwan into a hub for advancing the interests of the democratic community.
台湾在民主、性别平等、新闻自由、宗教自由的亮眼表现，使愈来愈多在亚洲处境日益艰难的国际非政府组织来台设点，包括无国界记者组织、国际民主协会、国际共和研究所、欧洲价值安全政策中心和弗里德里希诺曼自由基金会，皆在台湾设立办事处，以避开监视、骚扰和干预，继续推动区域内重要工作。台湾竭诚欢迎有兴趣在印太地区设点的国际机构前来，协助台湾成为促进民主社群利益的枢纽。
Long left out in the cold, Taiwan is ready to be a global force for good.
长期被冷落的台湾已经准备好成为一支全球正义的力量。
Meanwhile, the Global Cooperation and Training Framework, a platform jointly administered by Taiwan, the United States, and other partners that allows us to share our expertise with countries around the world, has fostered creative cooperation on issues such as law enforcement, public health, and good governance. One recent round of GCTF activity, for example, focused on media literacy and how democracies can combat disinformation, an area in which Taiwan has an abundance of experience.
同时，全球合作暨训练架构 GCTF 是由台湾、美国等伙伴共同主持的平台，可和世界各国分享专业、促进执法、公卫、良善治理等领域的创造性合作。例如 ，GCTF 近期活动曾聚焦在媒体识读及民主国家如何打击假讯息，台湾对此议题有丰富的经验。
Over the past 5 years, more than 2,300 experts and officials from more than 87 countries have attended GCTF workshops in Taiwan, and the forum will continue to expand, offering a path to greater collaboration between Taiwan and countries around the world, including the United States. Indeed, Taiwan works closely with the United States on many issues, in the service of regional peace and stability. Our hope is to shoulder more responsibility by being a close political and economic partner of the United States and other like-minded countries.
过去5年以来，来自87个国家的2300多位专家官员参加了台湾的 GCTF 研讨会。GCTF 将持续扩大，成为台湾与美国等世界各国更广泛合作的途径。事实上，台美为达区域和平稳定，在诸多议题紧密合作。我们希望借由成为美国和其他理念相近国家密切的政治经济伙伴， 承担更多责任。
A force for good.
一股良善的力量。
The threat posed by authoritarian regimes has served as an important wake-up call for democracies, spurring them to emerge from their complacency. Although extraordinary challenges remain, democracies around the world are now working to safeguard their values and renew their ossified institutions. Alliances are being rekindled to serve the interests of the international community.
威权政权的威胁敲响了警钟，让民主国家摆脱自满。尽管挑战依然严峻，民主国家正努力捍卫其价值，重整僵化的体制，并重振符合国际社会利益的联盟。
Taiwan may be small in terms of territory, but it has proved that it can have a large global presence, and that this presence matters to the world. It has persevered in the face of existential threats and made itself an indispensable actor in the Indo-Pacific. And through it all, the Taiwanese commitment to democracy has never been stronger. The people of Taiwan know that democracy is the lasting path and the only game in town.
台湾的领土面积或许不大，但事实证明，台湾可在全球占有不容小觑的地位，并且对世界至关重要。台湾面对外来威胁，屹立不摇，并成为印太地区不可或缺的成员。台湾人民对民主的承诺前所未有的坚定。台湾人民深知，民主是永久且唯一的路。
Over the past 2 years, our handling of the COVID-19 pandemic and our assistance to and collaboration with countries around the world has offered one more example of the crucial role that Taiwan can play and of why Taiwan matters. Going forward, our high-tech industries, and especially our production of advanced semiconductors, will continue to fuel the global economy. And Taiwan's ability to balance ties to various countries, while defending its democratic way of life, will continue to inspire others in the region.
过去2年来，台湾的防疫表现及对世界各国的援助与合作，再展现台湾能扮演的重要角色，以及台湾为何重要。展望未来，台湾的高科技产业，尤其是先进半导体生产，将继续振兴全球经济。台湾在捍卫其民主生活方式的同时，亦展现其平衡与各国关系的能力，这将持续启发区域内其他国家。
We have never shied away from challenges. Although the world faces an arduous journey ahead, this presents Taiwan with opportunities not seen before. It should increasingly be regarded as part of the solution, particularly as democratic countries seek to find the right balance between the need to engage and trade with authoritarian countries and the need to defend the values and democratic ideals that define their societies. Long left out in the cold, Taiwan is ready to be a global force for good, with a role on the international stage that is commensurate with its abilities.
台湾从未回避挑战，尽管世界形势艰巨，但这为台湾提供了前所未有的契机。台湾应逐渐被民主国家视为是在维持与威权国家的经贸交往及捍卫定义其社会的民主价值理念之间取得平衡的解方。虽然长期被冷落，台湾已经准备好成为全球一股良善的力量，在国际舞台上扮演与其能力相符的角色。
Tsai Ing-wen is President of Taiwan.
蔡英文是台湾的总统。